Hey y'all, Kelly Whitney here, and here's another thing that older black women should tell younger black women but don't. Now this is an offshoot of a stitch that I appeared in yesterday. I think that might be my first time I've ever been stitched, so shout out to that girl. I think I shared it in my story. She was talking in response to one of my previous videos. I think that one I had the flowered dress on, and I was talking about older black women. I was speaking directly to them and like, you need to help these younger black women, da da da. She was saying basically that the reason that they don't is because of some feelings of competition. I confess, that hadn't occurred to me at all, because from what I understand about competition as a concept, it's related to jealousy. It's related to insecurity. I don't suffer from that shit. I have my little moments here and there, but for the most part, I'm solid. I've never thought that I was particularly beautiful or pretty or anything like that. If anything, I was more proud of my brain. I grew up hearing, oh, Tracy is the pretty one. Kelly is the smart one. Tracy is my older sister. So I was always taught to prize my intellect. Competition for me was never a direct thing. It was never person to person. Like, I'm not in a foot race, you know what I'm saying? I'm not in the Olympics. This ain't Paris. When I was competing with someone, they didn't know anything about it. I was competing to outdo them in grades because I had this one, I remember one specific instance. I had this AP history class. I think it was Western civilization, if I'm not mistaken. And there was like 3 of us who would consistently try to outdo each other for the top spot when it came to the grades. It was me, this white boy named Ross, and I forget the other person. So I was always competing with him, but he never knew anything about it. And I wasn't competing against him as a person. I was competing for that top spot just because I wanted to have the best grade. And I just liked going up there and seeing my name at the top. It wasn't even about learning. I ain't even gonna lie. You know, I've always liked history. Don't get me wrong. I love history, but it wasn't about that. I wanted to see my name at the top. I wanted to be the top dog. But he never knew I was competing with him. The idea that older black women would be competing against younger black women never occurred to me. Completely non-fucking-sensical. But I believe her, because that's not the first time in my comments you guys have mentioned the idea of older black women competing. And I'm sure it's not just specific to our race, because it's not the first time I've heard this idea of competition among women. I want to say this to you about competition. Competition can become extremely negative and toxic because it ruins your perspective, it ruins your focus and discipline, and it sours any good feelings that you might have about somebody else's success. And that's never a good thing. It also promotes a feeling of lack, meaning I'm competing against you because there's only so much and I gotta beat you out in order to get what little there is. That's bullshit. There are very few things, with the exception of like rubies. Rubies are quite dear, so if you see any, get them. Other than certain minerals and things like that, most things don't have a finite source. You see what I'm saying? There's always enough. And if there's not enough, maybe you should evaluate exactly how much do you really need. And that is coming from my pursuit of minimalism. My perspective is a little bit different because I'm actively working to have less. I don't want as much stuff around me because I want to be able to focus and really enjoy and really have invested and been intentional about the things that I do have around me. Long story short, competition takes your focus away from yourself and puts the focus on someone else. That's never a good plan, because once you take your focus away from yourself, you're basically giving your control and power away too. Everything originates from you. You can make things happen. You have the power to control and shape your own narrative. You can create your image. You can shape and build the life that you want. When you allow other people's activities, ideas, successes to actively dictate how you shape your own, you cease to be yourself and you become somebody else. When you're not focused on your shit, you can't do your best and you can't help anybody else. The idea of competition can be so toxic. Think not of competition as in it's me against another person. Think of it as it's me against me. It's you against yesterday's you. It's you against last year's you, because now you're a different woman. You have more information, you have more knowledge, you have more certainty, better habits. You are only in competition with you. And when you see other people doing well, don't begrudge them a moment of their success. because that only hurts you. And I realize all of my content is very self-focused, because that's the only thing that you can control in this life. You, what you think, what you do, how you behave, what you want, what you go after, what you work for. So when you are in competition with another person, you already lost the thread. The only way you should be competing with another person is in your mind, allowing that person's success to fuel your own engine. Don't just compete with motherfuckers just to compete with them. Think about why you're focused so tightly on another person. Your focus should remain on yourself. I understand my content is self-focused. It's self-focused for a reason. Until you get your shit together, you can't help anybody else. And that is ultimately what the Bible and everything in society that's good tells us to do. Be in service to others. But you cannot be in service to others if your shit's raggedy. Competition will keep you raggedy. And if that is the reason why you're not sharing information with your peers or with younger women, heal, because that is wrong. Obviously, I think older Black women don't tell younger Black women not to compete with one another, because if the idea of competition has occurred to them, they're probably on the wrong side of this equation. You see what I'm saying? I would just urge you to think very critically about the idea of competition, how you would approach it, and I urge you to remain disciplined and self-focused, because as soon as you start competing with another person in a negative/toxic way, you lose. So that's another thing that older Black women should tell younger Black women, but don't. I hope you guys come back for the next video.